YouTube? Today I wanted to share a game that I had last night. Blood Angels versus Dark Angels, Wrath of the Rock versus Rage Cursed Onslaught. That doesn't matter. The important part was the opportunity I had to defeat his Fights First unit. Um, I normally don't have these type of resources at my disposal and available to pull this off. But this is the first time I've ever encountered this particular scenario, and I came up with a way to defeat his fights first unit. So I wanted to share that with you guys. So let's hop right into it. So I'm just looking at the recording from the stream that I did last night. So here's the setup. It's top of round two. He has moved his inner circle companions here to this little cut led by his Judiciar, which obviously gives his unit fights first. I've got my 10-man death company right here with my fights first chaplain, Red Thirst, Master of the Red Thirst, giving us fights first there. Now, the options that I typically don't have at my disposal are an additional 5-man JPI unit here, completely disposable, right? And then a 3-man unled sanguinary guard unit here with spears. I've got my combi lieutenant right here that I reacted, or no, actually I forgot to move him up on turn one. Huge mistake. It didn't cost me any primary though, because on his turn one he moved the combi lieutenant here. I wouldn't have gotten primary anyway, because we would have been net zero on ownership on this objective. Anyway, he moved his combi lieutenant here. So my plan was I'm going to walk you through what I did, but here's where my thinking was. Okay, he's got his combi lieutenant here. I'm going to try to get him to react. I'm going to bait a react move here. I'm going to get him to react because I noticed he left a gap right here. What do you think that's for? Obviously for his combi lieutenant to reactive move and fall back and be safe and sound. Um, Amongst his fights first unit. So I'm going to walk you through what my thinking was, because typically how my games usually go when it's a standoff between one's fights first unit overlooking the center objective against another fights first unit overlooking the center objective, you usually just stare each other down for a few turns until tertiary things around the battlefield dictate that one of you move out, because neither is going to attack the other because it's suicide. Because the defending player gets to, if both units have fights first, the defending player gets to activate first. So if I attack him, it's on my turn. If I attack him with my fights first unit and he's got a defending fights first unit, then he gets to activate his fights first and completely eliminate my fights first. Or if I charge anywhere near his fights first, then he gets to spend a CP and heroic activate, pile in, and completely crush my fights first. So that's typically how it goes. So there's usually a stalemate. So I came up with a way to completely eliminate that. So I'm going to fast forward here, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to move these JPIs up, flank on the left side. I'm going to move these unled sanguinary up, flank on the right side. That's I'm also going to move up this combi lieutenant, and that's phase one of the plan, is to get that combi lieutenant to reactive move and fall back. I'm going to use him as a slingshot into his fights first. So I flank on the left side with JPI, flank on the right side with sanguinary, making sure I'm staying out of heroic from this Sternguard vet squad back there. And then I move up with the unit that's actually going to crush that. So let me fast forward here until until I get to the point. Okay, so you can see the plan was executed. First stage was I moved the combi lieutenant up. I asked him if he wanted to reactive move his combi lieutenant. He did. Put him right there in the side pocket, right there in the side pocket of his inner circle fights first. And then in response, I flanked with JPI, Sanguinary, and then I moved my Death Company right up in the center. Now fast forward a little bit more and I'll show you how the charges went. I believe for those JPIs I rolled an 11, which was really, really good. So, all right, charge with the JPIs. Now, interesting, you see this gap here? they did impact mortals. They did 3 impact mortals, killed this one model right here. So right out of the gate, off rip, one inner circle companion's already dead. JPIs, there's gonna be sacrificed. They did their job. So that phase one was to get the combi lieutenant to reactive move. He did. Phase two, encircle with the JPIs and sanguinary. Now the reason I had to do this is because you have to touch. I had to touch every model of his inner circle that fights first with one of my models. So when he activates, he gets to activate first because he has fights first. When he activates, I don't want him being able to move models and pile into my expensive death company brick that has fights first. I want to keep all those models intact. So I had to actually touch every single one of these models so he couldn't pile in. I'm totally fine with him wiping one of those units, either sanguinary and JPI, and then consolidating, but that's after he's fought. Totally cool with that. So I encircled here, locked down on the right side with the sanguinary, and here's the important here that was phase one was reactive move with the combat lieutenant. Phase two was to base every one of his models so he can't pile in. Phase three was to then charge with Death Company, and you'll notice these circles here. I've got this sweet little window right here where I get to declare my charge target with my Death Company as only the Combi Lieutenant. So that's like I need a millimeter charge. Can't fail that. So what I did here was I moved this one guy right here in the envelope, right here in the pocket. He's out of engagement range of this model, out of engagement range of that model. He's only engaged with the combi lieutenant, right? So all 3 charges have gone off. I just fanned out to the left and to the right. Let me see if I can show you that. Yeah, there we go. Phase one, combi lieutenant react. Phase two, um, encircle and base every model. Phase three, charge in with my death company, only declaring the combi lieutenant as the eligible target. Um, of my charge. So only one of my models actually got into engagement range. Perfect. So I fanned out. And then from there, he got to activate. He got to fight first. Let's kind of show you what happened there. Yeah, here's a clear picture. You see what happened here is he activated. He didn't get to move anything because everything was based. He put the Judiciar and these 2 models into the JPIs, completely wiping them. Godspeed, Blood Angels. And he put these 2 models into my Sanguinary Guard, and the Sanguinary Guard just shrugged it off, took 0 damage. I was surprised by that. He was surprised by that. I was expecting one model to probably die, but hey, they're pretty tanky. -1 to hit, -1 to wound. Or actually, they weren't led, so it was just -1 to hit. Um, so yeah, that's how that went. Um, I almost messed up right here though. I was so excited after only losing the JPIs and my plan working out flawlessly. I almost messed up. I think I picked up this model. Let me show you. Um, well, it doesn't matter. I picked up that Death Company model right here. I was about to place him down, and then I realized I looked over. He's got 3 CP. I actually have a couple of other fights going on. If I activate here against a target that's already attacked, he's going to spend 2 CP interrupt, and I think he had a captain and 1 Stern Guard vet alive right here. It might not have been a captain, but anyway, he could have potentially killed one of my sanguinary units. I believe the lion had come down somewhere over here. Excuse me. And anyway, so I almost messed that up. So I did another fight, I think, onto the side over here. Almost screwed that up. Picked up his last leader of Sternguard. Was it? It might have been Azrael, actually. No, I killed Azrael on turn one. I forget who it was. But anyway, I finished them off over here. And then I activated over here. And let's show you how that fight went, as you might have can imagine, okay, so that's me piling in. I got to fight with everyone, because then I'm able to pile into everyone there, not just the combi lieutenant. And do I have an end state of that? Yeah. Okay. So let me back up a tad. Yeah. So here's the end result. Death Company, I didn't have to spend a stratagem. I did not have to waste my fights first. You can see my chaplain. What I normally do when I give a unit in a particular model an enhancement, I'll color the base to let both myself and my opponent know that I have that ability. So what I do for my red thirst fights first, obviously I'm going to color that chaplain red. And then when I use it in one of my turns, I'll change the color from red to black to let both myself and my opponent know that I've used it. The once per game fights first. He no longer has it. He's a regular model now. So I eliminate his fights first inner circle, leaving the combi lieutenant. Well, I haven't done anything with my sanguinary yet. My JPIs are gone. So then I was able to pile in with my sanguinary. See me piling in there. And I picked up the combi lieutenant. So for a 90 point JPI, I was able to eliminate a Judiciar, his fights first inner circle companions, and the combi lieutenant, and I did it all without having to waste my fights first because I needed it for this Deathwing over here. I believe eventually he on his next turn he dropped in the lion and took my home. And then he had a second Deathwing, I think that he dropped down over here. But I needed my fights first because the battle was not over. So, like I said, this is the first time I've had these many resources, i.e., a disposable JPI and a disposable unled sanguinary. This is the first time that I've had those tools at my disposal to help me eliminate my enemy's fights first. This is the first time I've ever done this. I'm sure there's thousands of people out there that are like, yeah, I do. That's just another Tuesday for me. Hey, not for me. That's the first time I've ever been able to do it. And I wanted to share that with you guys. It was executed pretty flawlessly. I like how it turned out. And pretty much after that, I think my opponent he came in with Lion and did some charges. He ended up picking up this ball and then came over here to fight Dante. I brought in my Lamartie's 10-man Death Company brick over here to deal with this Death Company and Lion, and I still had this 10-man Death Company brick, a full sanguinary led by Captain over here, these three sanguinary here. I was pretty stacked, and I still had a ball predator left, so I was pretty stacked. I think I moved these guys back and recaptured the point that the lion had taken, because I knew the lion wasn't going to come back for these intercessors. He was going to go after one of these bricks, so it was pretty safe to do that. And then I was able, from that point, I was chucking grenades, I was shooting at lion. I think by the bottom of turn three, I think he was below half wounds, so he was going to die pretty soon. I was going to just keep chucking grenades and shooting at him every turn. He was going to die, and then I had this ball predator to help deal with him too. So we kind of call this was kind of the death knell, that unit dying right there. We kind of called it not too long after that. After Lion, he wanted to drop Lion. I get the feeling he wanted to drop Lion on the table, kill a couple things. Say he got to roll some dice with the most awesome, in my opinion, the most awesome model in Warhammer, the Lion L. Johnson. He's a total machine. He wanted to roll some dice with him before he called it a game. I can't blame him. So I indulged and we called it when he was ready. But yeah, I wanted to show you guys how I overcame this fights first. It was fun doing it. You won't always have 3 units available to be able to pull something off like this, but if you find yourself with a couple of cheap units and you're having a stare down with your opponent's fights first, give this a try. That's going to be it for today. Until next time, Red Thirst Wargaming out, and see you on the next one.